Welcome to me trying to justify both Stardust and Star sets in one go. I hope you're ready for some confusing feelings. There have been multiple discussions about whether some sets should be allowed to be limited or sold for stars rather than the usually unlimited Stardust sets in the shops. I don't really want to take a side in the specific argument since I'm a bit sitting between two chairs when it comes to this as well. But the question is an interesting one and definitely worth to analyze on a moral level. And it raises a few rather uncomfortable questions in return. Should designers be forced to make a certain minimum of designs for Stardust? Should designers be forced to make most of their sets unlimited? Should designers even have a say in these matters? Is there a difference between badge designers and normal players? And should there be one? Why should some people be allowed to get paid for their work while others aren't? You see, all these questions have a background in that discussion. They all have been raised in some way or form or have been alluded to. Let me start this by telling you a bit of what the current situation is. Badge designer means only those who are on the design team. People from other teams who design, the event designers, or people who used to be badged and aren't anymore, do not fall under this category. This distinction is important since it's only the badge designers that have the ability to actively put sets into the shop and to decide upon its limited amount. Star sets excluded, that's admin territory. Now, we designers don't go ahead and decide on a whim what set we make limited or not. Before the newest update, users could write a request for limited in the submission message, and we then decide if there has been enough time since the last limited set. The only other thing we check is quality. Is the quality good enough for the set to be in game? Well, if the answer is yes, the design automatically qualifies for being used for limited as well. The same goes for star sets. We do not decide if something is special enough or creative enough to be put into the shops for a specific currency or amount of sales. We purely decide upon quality, and while that has its own issues, it's not something I'm going to discuss in this blog. With the new update, people can tick off if they want their set to be used for a limited set. When it comes to being a badge designer, there is the unwritten rule that we need to make at least one Stardust set per month. The idea behind this rule is to have a balance in the shop when it comes to Stardust sets. In the beginning, there was a fear that many designers would from now on only have a design for stars since that's the only option creators can get paid for their work on Everskies via the shops. So there was the idea of enforcing badge designers to make Stardust sets as to not completely slip into the field of exclusive currency releases. Generally speaking, the designers in this community have been mostly really fair when it comes to their designs. There is rarely someone who very obviously prices their sets extremely high for the sake of making more money, and most seem to have a certain code when it comes to the old question of what is even good enough to be considered worthy of a limited or even star set. Designers have been really considerate in general of the user base and their wishes. It really reminds me a lot of that year where I went to school that was training people to be cafeteria chefs, and these two classes were the ones cooking and serving our food in the school cafeteria. Since it was a small school, but not even 150 students, we all knew each other and were hanging out in the schoolyard after classes. So when someone of us couldn't eat something specific due to dietary restrictions, the cooking crew would actually go out of their way and make them something that wasn't on the menu to accommodate their needs. It was very thoughtful and encouraged a respectful and nice relationship. And it's a similar relationship you can see in the design community. Now, granted, there are a few bad apples out there who, let's say, are out to really destroy the design community and the designers for their own personal gain or ideologies. you have those people on both sides. You have designers and people who have not even a clue what designing actually is, who go into that general field. But generally speaking, it's a very docile environment if you know when not to be active. So there really isn't a reason for us badge designers to enforce a state of control, set releases for each currency and all that. We let the users decide and manage the items in shop according to their power, which is rather high considering the liberties of decisions designers have when submitting their designs. And taking these liberties from them would actually destroy a lot of the feeling of respect for their art we badge designers want users to have on this site. We all know how much work goes into a design, how much time and effort is spent, and how unforgiving and cruel the world is in regards of financially supporting the artists and creators. Art isn't seen as something that helps in the mostly capitalist-driven world we have. It's rarely even seen as a means to a cause, despite its power it can hold, which has been proven over and over again. Art isn't just something one person does because it makes them feel good. Art is crucial to all cultures in the world, and we all have different views on it, and it evokes different feelings and emotions, but we all agree that art is a way of self-expression you can't really find somewhere else. And art in this case certainly isn't limited to drawing, but extends way further into the realm of music and writing, and really all forms of visual art there are. Art can make you feel good. Art can make you feel sad and enjoy that melancholy. Art can stoke rebellions and appease the masses. Art is a very powerful tool in the right and wrong hands alike. And yet, the general consensus is that art should be a free resource, given that art is nothing but an emotional expression of the artist's self and would happen no matter if they got paid for it or not. It's a view that actually pushes a lot of people to not be able to create anymore, that erases their creative flame. I remember when the devs introduced the creator update a few months ago and made it possible for designers, badged or not, to make some coin with the things they do. I even made a blog about reviewing my sales and how I was feeling about it in terms of a side hustle or full profession. I've heard from a bunch of people they actually make a really nice sum monthly, all things considered. I definitely am lucky to have the sales I do, but despite being able to have made about $250 in total from star sales in this game, this is rather little compared to many big-time designers. And dividing that up into all the hours I spent working on designs in the past months, not just Star exclusive, but all of my work, that will come down to a pay of a $1.75 per hour. No one would ever work for this low of a pay out of their own volition. But I made, like many other users, the deliberate choice of not getting paid for my work, and yet find myself having to explain and justify why I want to start making more star sets to help me out financially in my life. If anyone told you they'd have this low of an income, you'd have a lot of ideas about it, wouldn't you? Now, how many of you would feel comfortable explaining to that person that they shouldn't whine or feel bad, that they actually are getting quite a lot already, and how you don't want to help them make a halfway decent amount of money, despite it not costing you that much in general? You wouldn't even have to change something about your buying practice. And yet, there are a bunch of people out there who see these moments as a reason to come in hot with their arguments about how that's just too much and they couldn't afford it, so they don't want it to happen. How this all seems just like a ploy to make money, and how wrong that is. Wanting to be able to afford a living is something you should never feel entitled to even comment about, let alone criticize. Making money and wanting to make money from your hard hours at work is not wrong, but sometimes it can leave a bit of an aftertaste. If you design specifically for one group of people, for stars, and all the others get designs for stardust, it gets a bit iffy, And if you remake some items and suddenly change their price, maybe even the currency, then yeah, that feels greedy. You're banking off of the great success of an old design and making some people pay more for it now, especially if you want to consider the whole issue regarding the new plus size designs and their general amount in game, as well as, accessibility. It's not wrong to do it because you want more. It's wrong to change the currency and now profit off of a need that arose with the new base. And considering we boycott brands IRL for less, there is nothing wrong with not buying sets from such a creator anymore. You don't have to go out and insult them though. They are still just a person and might not even have noticed what they did is bad. You can try and talk to them, but if they don't see eye to eye with you, then just leave it at it and don't support them anymore. We designers actually see when people stop supporting us. Our sales drop drastically. We have access to this data and have the power to decide how we want to continue from now on. But it certainly starts to feel a bit iffy if users start to make requests for badge designers to make less star sets and offer more Stardust sets and leave the star sets for regular designers. Because you basically ask for some people to not get paid for their work that goes way beyond just making a design, by actually supporting this website and helping the non-badge designers and stocking the shops. And you do so because you just think, it's voluntary work, why should I get paid for it? Yeah, it's a way of seeing life. But it also means we don't have to work at all. And then not even those you so magnanimously allowed to get paid have the chance to get their sets into game and actually make money with it. Everyone would lose.